So what I want to cover today is the installation and some basic setup activities for the Employee Self-Service Portal and Catalog application. What I'm going to cover is specific to our version 3, though I will mention some of the aspects of this installation are very similar for version 2. Our version 3 was just released in beginning of August. It is a Helsinki specific release, and the reason being is it depends on the service portal. So the first thing is once you, through the ServiceNow store, get entitled, which is either through a trial or through a purchase of the app, you will see it in your applications, system applications, download section. You'll see an install option. If you're on an older version, you'll see options to install other versions, or as we push new versions in, you'll see options to install the current version or legacy versions. So you basically do an install, and it'll try to go through the steps. Now the first thing you're probably going to have to do before you can do the install is this will probably fail if you haven't activated the Service Portal plugin. So let me go show you where that is first. So we'll go to Plugins. I'm going to search for Service Portal. Now there's really one primary one you want to activate, and it's this one right here. That's Service Portal for Enterprise Service Management. You'll see as I go to activate that, it'll actually activate a couple other plugins as well. I will actually load demo data as well, though this is not a requirement. You don't have to have the demo data. So that'll install, and I'll let that go for a little bit. Okay, so now my Service Portal plugins are activated. So now I'd be able to go and do my install, and it would pass dependencies. After it's been installed, it'll look like this, where it shows up as installed. It'll have it installed. If there's some updates or other versions, you'll see it with an update and other versions that I can apply for updating it to a newer version, which is usually going to be for patches or other feature content added from our initial release here. So once it's installed, you'll also see your application in your developer section. You'll have your application out here. I did want to highlight that any of your local customizations that you make to configure the properties, adjust the widgets, adjust the pages, or other components, they will show up as local customizations, which means when you go to apply an update, if one of these components was updated, it's going to retain your local copy versus our update as well. So this is your way of providing your own configurations on top of our app, and then our updates will be merged into your updates. So now the bulk of the code is installed for what you've just done, going through the install and also activating the Service Portal plugin. Though there are, and this is documented and is what I'll cover next, is there are some additional configuration steps, additional things to load through some update sets to support the rest of the base configuration of our application. And this is primarily covered. You'll see areas in our install guide that cover table access and requirements. We'll go over that in a minute. You'll also see area in here where there is a mention of loading the global scope script utility. We'll do that in a second, as well as fixing this card objects table. Now what you'll find if you go to this card objects table after install is that there are no records in here. Now this was not by our design. We wanted to package our card object records that we've configured for our application to be in here. But there is a structural issue with the way it installs in this table. And this table is an extended, or it has a base table that has some extended tables from it. And one of the things that doesn't work right on install is that it misses that sys class name. So one of the things that's covered in our install guide is to first make an update to this card object table. Just any update. We tend to recommend going in and going to like application access, clicking things like can create, saving it, and then coming back and checking can create and uncheck that. And all that's going to do is it's basically going to create that sys class field into this table, which if you look right now you don't have one. So when I go to save this, kind of that by applying that update, we now have this sys class name added to our table, and that's really what we need in order to load our card objects, because they get loaded into multiple different tables, and this is the base table or the base class. So the actual card object records were removed from our install and instead were packaged up as a separate update set. So that's what you would do now that we've loaded that, or we made this table update, is we come in and do a retrieve update sets. Go choose from our update sets list the list of card objects, and these will be found with our application store listing. You'll find these update sets out there. This one along with a notifications update set and our global scope utility helper, which we'll hit in a moment. So this one should install or load pretty quickly. Quick preview update set. There's just 8 records in there. Commit the update set. Close that. And what that just did is it loaded what we had hoped to include in our application, which was these 8 card object records, which define the types of records that we display throughout the portals. The other update set that's mentioned in our install guide is a global scope utility helper. Now what this is there are a few functions that our application depends on that we're not authorized to interact with from a scope limitation perspective. So this is basically some of the global objects that are loaded to support and assist our application. So there's really just 4 things in here: a UI macro, a UI script, or a macro, UI macro script, a script include, and the association to our portal and a catalog site. So again, this should load pretty quickly. All right, now there is one other update set that you'll see in our store listing. It's this portal notification. I'm not going to load this, but what this is it's for the event messages or the in-portal messages that we've configured. And it's basically a set of table notifications that uses the live feed. These little table notification records that post messages to a live feed group that then is viewed or published through the portal as a way of communicating messages individually to a user or to a group of users. Alright, so now that we've done basic install activities, there's a couple places where you can do settings. There's either the CMS settings or the service portal settings. And so what you'll see here is our application is both a content management system application and a service portal application. And I'm going to cover kind of updating the settings and the properties kind of as if I were to use this as a service portal based application. But these steps in this process would be the same if I were doing this for the CMS side. It's just a different page and some different properties. And what I wanted to highlight with this is that when you go to the settings page, the first area you want to do, and this is going to be a one-time thing when you do the install, you'll get these list of alerts. And really what most of these are, some of them are warnings related to plugins that certain functionality might not work unless you activate a plugin. But most of the red ones deal with table access or script access that our application is expecting to have. And if we don't activate some of these, we won't be able to do things like I won't be able to alter widget properties via a script activation or a theme activation script. So what I would do is I would go and hit resolve. This will take me to the specific record. And if I look back at my message, it says this table requires update access. So I'd come in here and I'd say can't update. Save that. Now if I refresh my page, my 10 alerts should move down to 9. And they do. So I would continue to do this for the other various records in here to make the different updates they want, which I'll do quickly so I have a clear alerts. Alright, so now I've cleared all my alerts. So now I can, in my regular settings area, and I just want to highlight here quickly, so this is on this general tab is where I can make some of the general settings, like in terms of my keyboard shortcuts to launch favorites. I can adjust the favorite icon, which is the icon that shows up in the browser, contact number that shows up on the home page, what articles show up in the kind of image slider from news articles on the front, and this is either a knowledge category, which would be a sys-ID of the category, or a knowledge topic if you're using knowledge v2, and also the transition time. And then there's also some new properties that we've added with this version in terms of where do you want to pin the sidebar navigators on the right or on the left. You'll notice also we've got a number of different themes to kind of choose and start from. The initial starting theme is this Metro style theme. You can, any of these you can set as the site theme by clicking on them, or set preview. The edit theme content will take you to the theme record where you can make edits to the style sheets and other properties related to that. We also have an ability to preview a theme, which is by clicking on this and hitting preview, which will take you out to that, which will set that theme as the preview theme and be able to leverage it. So now that we've updated our settings, let's go ahead and launch our portal. We'll go the service portal route versus the CMS and just make sure everything is working like I would expect. So here's that Metro style theme. I see the menu, I see the options, I see various tiles on here. Right, so it looks like it's working. So now a couple other configurations that I want to cover. One, I'll cover kind of swapping out these tiles or adjusting these tiles. We'll hit that in a second. I also want to cover, this is the news articles that show up here. And you'll notice they all at this point have the same background image. So the way you would change that is, first of all, these are knowledge articles. So if I were to go into one of these, I'll see that this is a specific knowledge article. So if I wanted to assign a different image to here, I can go search this knowledge article. I'll do an edit. And you won't find this on the form by default, because we kind of want you to be able to control this in terms of having this on your fields, your forms or not. But there is a field that we add as part of our application that you can add to the form, which you'll see it as this background image. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the form. And then I'll go assign an image to this. So now I've got an image assigned. Now if I go back to my home page, you'll now see that this knowledge article, or this news article here, shows that new background image. Now again, these are pulling the knowledge articles based off of the topic and or category assigned to the item, and that's again can be changed from the settings. Next thing I want to cover is, you'll notice there's an area where we have a get help area, which will navigate you through kind of these decision branches to prompt you for a form. And you'll see some of the, and we do a base install, sometimes you'll get this where you get a blank form. And the reason for this is the decision branches, for one, obviously you want to adjust these branches to match the types of information you want to capture or steer users through different forms. But some of them you'll see, like this email access one, links to a out-of-the-box catalog item called Something Broken, though with Helsinki this item is an inactive catalog item, so it basically can't show. So if you do want to use this catalog item as the record producer input, then you would need to activate it. Otherwise you could adjust the decision branch to point to what record producer do you want to use as the form input for that Something Broken area. So I'm going to go and activate that. Go ahead and refresh this page. Now the application does do some caching, so you will see this option when the page is using some cache data or localized browser cache data. You'll see a clear page data. In this case, I do want to clear this because I do want it to actually reload that configuration of our decision branch data. So now when I go through and I click, now we'll see this Something Broken. Now this hits on another thing I want to highlight too, is that you'll see in a lot of our demos that the form that we show here is different. One of the options we have with our application is either in the decision branch itself or into the catalog item. We can put a different template on that. What we show in a lot of our demos is that we have a different template that we show on the Something Broken record producer. And that's another field on this form, that was on the form but in the table, that you can add to the form and then populate. So I'm going to add this just to the top, service portal template, on this record producer. And we've already got one that we've created for this Something Broken. So I'll just do a search for that. There's our Something Broken. So I assign it a template, and when I go to refresh, I'll go back through my steps really quickly. You'll see now a very different form that allows me to submit a ticket kind of with a single description, and behind the scenes is populating and updating those variables of that record producer. So you'll want to do the same thing for any of the other branches out here that have a selection item on them. So you'll want to look at these selection items that are assigned to your different branches and want to make sure each of these have a form that you can interact with. The other thing that's highlighted in our document, and if you'll go down to this in this section of configuration options, is you'll see code in here related to the record producer. Now this is specific to the CMS side. On the CMS side, if you have your typical behavior of a record producer is going to take you to the record you just created. What this is in this document is that you may want to update the scripts of your record producers so that if you're going through the CMS portal, then it'll redirect you to the status page rather than that ticket detail page. And this just keeps you inside the CMS versus being taken out to a different native ServiceNow form. So this is really more of an option in any record producer that you use throughout the portal. Through the CMS side, you might want to do this. We don't need to do this on the service portal side because we already handled the wrapping and redirecting to the status page for that. So let's cover some of the other configurations you'll make in terms of branding and styles. Let's first hit on, I mentioned earlier, adjusting the widgets that are on the kind of Metro style homepage. So one of the things I first want to do, I do want to actually, since our home pages our records are part of our application content, I do want to change this to our employee self-service portal application. You'll find if I don't do this, if I'm interacting with certain widgets or pages, it won't give me a save option. So I'm going to switch that. And then I'm going to go to the page designer. So I'm going to search for home. I'm going to go to our EVG home. Now this is the actual content that shows here is going to vary based off of what theme you have set as the site theme. In our case, we have the Metro style theme set as the site theme, so it's showing this Metro home. If I swap out the site theme to be the Now theme, then you'll see a different home page here. But a lot of the options are the same. So for this, then there is a widget on here and there is a pencil icon on the right. And what this pencil icon allows me to do is change out some of the properties that are passed into here. So this gives me some quick edits to be able to swap out, say, a tile. Like if I want to change this to be our live feed tile instead of the social Q&A tile, I can do that. Now one little aside, these tiles and the tile names that are referenced here, those are records in this navigation tiles table. And what we're referencing on there is this actual name property of those tiles. So once I do that, now you'll see I have a live feed tile there. So other things you might want to do are this branding editor. This is where you can go in and change the logo that's in the upper right, change the way it's kind of padding, some of the title that's listed in the upper top here in terms of the header and the menu. Also, you'll see a number of the common color schemes that are stored within the theme are defined here, so you can make your edits to your color schemes directly here. You can also make them, as I was kind of showing earlier, as I go to our own settings page. If I go to theme and I were to go to, say, our Metro style theme and do edit theme content, I can also make those edits to the kind of common colors and styles directly in the CSS variables. This is also where I can go and edit in more granular detail the CSS and the style sheet associated with that theme. So that covers what I wanted to cover in terms of doing the base install, loading in some of those additional helpful update sets, making some of the common configurations like the background image on the slider, as well as assigning themes and previewing themes, and also some of the branding that you'd want to do. So hopefully this was helpful in terms of getting started with our application. I have some more that'll cover more specific topics about certain features of our application as well. Thank you.